I think we can wing it just like the people who made this movie.
Hello and welcome to Castle of Horror Hangout episode. Once again, we are gathered in the middle of the week to do usually a less well-respected film, because that's what we're about in our mainline episodes as we shoot towards 300, is typically films that are pretty well-respected, including my personal favorites, The Zombies of Moratau, and... What was
Evergreen?
And that's the kind of quality that Castle of Horror is going to stand for. Actually, it's not so true anymore. We're really, truly doing fantastic stuff lately. But on the Hangout episodes, we are just doing strange things that we've come across. So this week, we are discussing the 1986 Spanish horror film starring Alice Cooper, Monster
84,
Dog.
by the way, Jason.
84?
84.
84 released in Europe, 86 released in the States.
Oh.
Direct to VHS.
Tony.
I did my homework before calling in.
Excellent. So, all right. I'm
We're
Jason
already off the
Henderson.
rails.
That's
Great
fine.
Hangout episode already.
I'll do a short version of the intro. I'm Jason Henderson. I write stuff for a living. With me is Tony Salvaggio. He's a singer and a bassist in a whole bunch of bands, including Deserts of Mars and Rise from Fire. And with us is Mr. Drew Edwards, the creator of the long-running independent comic Halloween Man. Say hello, my wonderful people.
Sometimes I'm James Bond, sometimes I'm Billy the Kid.
Well,
Yes.
what I do know is we're all collectively in the world part of some kind of crisis.
Crises! For the love of God!
Thanks, Alice Cooper. We love you, though.
Which song was that? Was that in the middle? That's the one in the middle,
right?
It's the first one. Identity Crisis.
Oh, yeah, the Identity Crisis. Yes. That was actually kind of fun.
It's a cool intro. I had forgotten that we were doing a film with Alice Cooper, and I'm more than happy to watch. In fact, I have an idea for later, but we'll talk about one part. But man, it was cool. Like we just open with, hey, we're gonna make an Alice Cooper video. Let's go for it.
Yeah,
that's great. I mean, I love rock and roll and horror together, so I'm sure tons of Alice Cooper fans were digging this, or maybe disappointed. I don't know. I think it's fun. So
that is a good point, because you've got Alice Cooper. I mean, the music's fine. It's very sort of they're just rock songs that he's got.
It's easy to see why Identity Crisis eclipsed Schools Out as the prototypical Alice Cooper song.
Well, also, it's important to remember that Alice Cooper here, and this is what the movie is about. This is like the 30,000-foot view of Monster Dog. Alice Cooper plays a rock and roll star named Vincent Raven.
Terrible name for a werewolf, by the way.
Yes.
Well, Vincent Lupin would have just been that would have been Alucard kind of crap.
Right. And he's a rock star, and he's surrounded himself with a whole bunch of people who are involved in producing his latest video, and for inspiration, he has headed back to his home village, I suppose, somewhere in America, where his family
America.
Where his family has a castle, and where his father was murdered by angry villagers with pitchforks.
Was this really supposed to be this? It wasn't supposed to be America.
I really can't tell. I don't
know it's America, Tony. There are cowboys.
That's true. There's cowboys and like tough talking cops who talk like and anyway, there's a werewolf. But I mean it's essentially a Scooby-Doo story.
There's a werewolf that can control rabid dogs.
Yeah.
Because in all this time, in all the werewolf lore, somehow we miss this amazing werewolf power of controlling gangs of dogs.
It's a great idea, actually. That's a pretty cool concept. That the gangs of dogs would be ruled by a king, a king canine, who would be that's a cool concept. But
there was a really good Malcolm in the Middle episode where Reese starts running with a pack of dogs.
Really? Oh, that's funny.
It's so good. It just, when you were talking about this, it just reminded me of that. And eventually, the mailman comes to the door, and he runs up to the door and starts going, "Who are you? Who are you? You don't belong here. You don't belong here." But yeah, that whole idea of running with pack dogs. It is kind of cool. I haven't really seen another movie where the head werewolf controls dogs.
Yeah, it's a neat idea. I mean,
What would that be called? Dogomancy? Doglepathy?
I'm sure that actually, if we go deep, and maybe a listener will tell us, I'm sure there is a special.
If you go with Latin, though, it's got to be some canine something, right? Like,
yeah, I'm sure there's a word for the power of controlling dogs. It's bound to be. So we could call up one of our professor friends and just have them coin
telepathy.
I don't care if that's not it. It is now. He has the power of telepathy. And then that person who has telepathy just makes some wiener dog like attack them, eviscerate them.
Just walks around throwing dogs at you. So
I now want to use that everywhere. Dude, you got to use that in Halloween, man.
Oh,
yes,
it's gonna happen.
Telepathy, like that's how I love it. Thank you, Drew. You made my night.
Oh, you're welcome. I can retire now.
Yeah,
my work here is done, and then you just fly off like Poochie.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Drew left the earth. Telepathy, everyone. I give you this. And now I fly to the heart of the sun.
That's the sort of wordplay that has won me awards. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, obviously.
Anyway, Alice Cooper doesn't. I found this super strange. So yes, I mean we'll just work our way through it. But Alice Cooper, to begin with, very first thing we learn after we open with the rock song, it's pretty cool, guys. You can watch this movie for free on Tubi. Okay, so you should do that just to watch the opening.
Spoilers ahead. We didn't say that as usual, but if you've been here before, you know this.
Right. We haven't really spoiled anything yet because we've just given you the beginning. But there will be spoilers. We're going to talk about the whole film. So Alice Cooper doesn't do his own voice. I don't, and nobody does. This whole movie is
dubbed.
Yeah.
And I found that very strange. Like, at first I thought he was not dubbed. I knew everybody else was, but I was thinking, like, surely Alice Cooper had dubbed his own lines. And Alice Cooper, anytime I've seen him in something, he's not a great actor, but his vocal inflection is better than this.
Yeah.
When he's been in stuff, look, man, here's the deal. Alice Cooper is he's a really good performer. He's been doing this a while. He's been in tons of videos. He's made cameos. The documentary with him is great. If you ever get to watch the Alice Cooper documentary where he talks about visiting Frank Zappa, that story is amazing. You should definitely do that. But yeah,
I have heard of that.
Alice Cooper is a consummate performer. So when you see badly dubbed parts, you're just like, but really?
So there is I actually, upon reading up on this movie, I learned why he did not dub his own lines.
Please explain.
They could afford to have him be in the movie, but they could not afford to pay him to come back and dub his own lines. That is simply, it came down to money. And he was the thing that they spent the most money on.
Really?
I mean, he did this movie basically as an experiment. Like he had just gotten out of rehab and he wanted to see if he could work while he was sober. And that is the they were like, oh, this movie will never play in movie theaters in the United States, so you don't have to worry about it being a big thing. It'll be released direct to VHS, which is actually how I encountered this movie. I had never actually seen this movie until today, but I always remembered being really freaked out by the VHS box of it, where Alice Cooper is turning into a skinless werewolf. And I always just was like, that VHS cover was super scary looking.
Oh yeah,
it's a good cover.
Monster dog on the cover is amazing.
not so much the monster dog in the movie.
I mean, the monster dog in the movie is not as scary as the monster dog on the cover. But you don't get
the howling this ain't.
Yeah,
it's a great conceptual cover
constantly, like that. No,
I had never come across this in my life. Let me just say
Really?
honestly, I had never encountered this film until I just stumbled across it the other day.
Oh,
And
I was monster dog curious as a
right?
kid, but I was too
one.
yeah, I
I
was
don't know
too
why. I don't know why, because I would have. This totally is the target box art that my stepbrother and I would have rented.
Yeah.
And I guess I just never knew that it was Alice Cooper, because we totally would have rented an Alice Cooper werewolf movie
Sure.
with this box art. There's no way.
But
I
it
just
says
don't know.
Alice Cooper on the box art, so chances are you just didn't see it. It maybe it didn't
No. I
get the
remember
kind of
the creature. I
huh.
remember that cover vividly, but
Wow.
I don't know, man. I
Well,
don't know
there you
why
go.
we would rent it. But
Well, anyway, here we are. I mean, I didn't even know how I came across this, but the moment I realized it was a thing that existed, I was like, no, this is definitely something that we're going to have to watch soon. So it's the astonishing thing. Yeah, not only does he not do his own voice for reasons, although that makes him exactly like Kiss not doing their own voices for Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, precisely, so that you had Michael Bell of all people doing the voice of Peter Criss.
Well,
man,
what's weird about the difference in the dubbing is that his facial expressions, like all the acting in this movie is pretty bad. Alice Cooper, because of his facial expressions, is even with the weird dubbing, is still the best thing in this movie.
Sure.
Like
he plays
easily.
one thing. He plays thoughtful. That's it. That's his only face, is I'm thinking about it. By the way, Alice Cooper, Lord of Darkness and Rock and Roll, spends this entire thing wearing what appears to be a blue cashmere sweater. And
a Marty McFly pullover jacket.
Yes.
No, when he is out and about after the video, though, he's got a super leather.
That's true.
When he's running around with a shotgun, he looks the most 80s. But it made me, so I'll jump ahead to my thought on that. When we get to the part where he's out running around with a shotgun,
yes,
and he's in his super 80s gear, it really made me wish that this wasn't his only thing. And I really, really, really wish we had got a post-apocalyptic Alice Cooper movie.
Oh, how good would that have been?
Like 87, 88 era. Either sci-fi post-apocalypse, it could have been like Metal Storm style.
Yeah, he could have started Free Jack.
But shoot, I would have loved to seen 1970s Rocky Horror Picture Show looking drag Alice Cooper in a post-apocalyptic movie.
I mean, that's fine, but yes, but what I'm saying is in this movie, he's running around, he's armed, he's doing all that stuff, and I was like, oh man, and
he's got the big shoulder jacket.
Yeah, he's got all the things,
but that's his costume.
Like Warlords of Atlantis, or is it Killer Death Car? There's one where the guy has a car that gets stolen from him that I had to look it up. I watch a lot of post-apocalyptic movies on Shout Factory and Prime, so I forgot the name of that car movie. I'll think of it.
By the way, we haven't
it made me really want a post-apocalyptic Alice Cooper movie. I think that would have ruled. Right after this, 87, 88 would have been amazing.
Absolutely. You mentioned the car, and I just wanted to mention we haven't done the car, but we should do the car. We should honestly do the car sometime. That's a glorious film. But go ahead.
You mentioned it's because you just said car, but you mentioned the Scooby-Doo-ness of this.
Yes.
I think it's the fact that this starts out with them in a groovy van driving through more fog than is actually in the movie The Fog, which I just watched. I don't know how they managed it, but they have more fog in this movie than I have ever seen in a horror movie.
It's a Spanish film, and I mean a lot of this is on a set, so I don't know. I mean, I guess they're just really they're creating a lot of fog with dry ice and stuff. I guess I don't know. I mean, it's what I love though. At that point, they're on that spooky road and headed through, and they get pulled over by some cops. And now is the moment for the screenwriter, to show us how many Stephen King books he's read with the local cops and the famous guy coming back home and all these tropes, and watch it sort of fed like hamburger into this machine that translates it all into Spanish, and then this Spanish screenwriter writes a version of it, and it comes back out with the most bizarre thing, because these cops, who have like huge weird circles around their eyes for no reason are standing there, and they say all these like English phrases that they've clearly never heard. The actors have clearly never heard like how you say things, and it's the weirdest thing. I mean, no human being in this entire movie talks like a person who's ever actually heard English spoken before. It's the weirdest thing. Gets all the female actresses are Spanish, all of them. Everybody here is Spanish. Everybody's speaking in Spanish, and then these weird English lines are dubbed in by actors probably in Spain who so that you'll have the girlfriend goes, there's a point where she was like, right on. And she says right on exactly that way. Like she's never heard it ever. So I love I was, and by the way, the moment they ran into those cops who are like, well, be careful, dogs are gonna come and tear you all apart or whatever, I was like, oh, this is the movie for me. That's fantastic. So
yes. I like how
I would have loved if they would have said that this was in spooky Pennsylvania. I think that would have made it even better, because it's like Tony's absolutely right. Like, where the hell is this supposed to be?
Okay, well let's talk about that for a second, because I got no clue. I assumed it's supposed
back
to
home to like Europe.
Well, the problem, of course, is that we don't see any village. So the only people representing the village are the cops who are pulling people over to warn them about a spate of rabid dog attacks that's happening. But we don't see, they don't like go to town and stop in a bar or anything that would indicate to us
None of
what
the
life
none
is
of
like.
none of the names are European sounding, because his real name is Vincent Roberts. But like this has got some weird sort of like universal backlot, you don't know where the hell you are kind of
Right.
vibe to it. It's not as charming as that.
No.
But
And there's
it
only
is-
like 9 people in the whole cast, right? Because they're on the road, they talk to the cops, they go to the house, now they're in the house. There's some people who help at the house, both of whom are trouble. And then there's some roving local good old boys.
and there's
That's
a
it.
random old man in shredded Incredible Hulk clothing.
Yeah, but he's actually the Crazy Larry or whatever you call that character in
Crazy Ralph.
Crazy Ralph. He's totally
he's
Crazy
actually
Ralph.
he's actually Crazy Ralph if Crazy Ralph ended up being Jason,
Right?
Because he's revealed at the end that he is also a werewolf.
Yes.
And there's the servant. What was the servant's name?
Joss. Like Joss Whedon. Yep.
Who they know is missing, but they don't seem to care. Like they just keep.
Nothing in this movie happens the way normal humans would make it happen. I mean, nobody reacts the way. Tony and I were laughing at this last night. We were texting one another.
Oh yeah. they get to the house, and the guy's like, "Oh look, oh man, sandwiches."
Right.
And he just gets so pumped. And then later on, not only is he pumped about like crustless sandwiches, like white bread sandwiches, but later on he goes, "Man, these sandwiches are so good. You should have these sandwiches." And he's so excited. Like maybe they were on the road for a long time and he's just happy to eat. But those sandwiches look like the most basic.
Oh, I know. No.
There's nothing artisanal about those sandwiches.
They've got an array, a plethora, if you will, of little travel cereals. That it's the weirdest thing. It's like they're the helper in the house who left food for them so that he could go out and get attacked by dogs. He left them a tray of sandwiches, which they are super pumped about.
One guy is especially,
and a bunch of cereal. No, but all the girls are like, "Oh, this is such wonderful food. Look what they left us." I mean, it's wonderful. I too believe in being thankful for what her hosts have given you, but for heaven's sake, this is so strange.
HEB crudité plate. Holy crap! This has broccoli and ranch. Cherry tomatoes. Oh my word! How did they? They didn't spare any expense. Celery stalks. Good Lord! I can't believe we're living the high life.
That's the same scene where the girl goes, right on. I just
You're a person who I express gratitude and camaraderie with.
Yes. Yeah, that at that moment, Vince goes wandering off to go read, and he's reading a book that has some title like because Vera, I keep calling her Vera. It's Victoria Vera, Sandra, his girlfriend Sandra, who by the way, weirdly enough, everybody's like totally sexually segregated in this thing. So that like they sort of roll around on a bed, joking around like doofs, and then like all the girls are like sleeping in a bed like the Three Stooges, and I guess the guys are also in a bed. And anyway, Alice Cooper is in the library because again, apparently his super duper rich family owns this castle. And they even put up a banner that says, welcome home. And so he's like reading the books in there, and one of them is about werewolves. And and it has a picture of the Wolfman. So it must be.
Which I have to say, not that is the most cutting edge technology for like the mid late 80s, the Wolfman makeup, but it does serve to remind you that the werewolf makeup in this movie is fucking terrible. It's so like and the 80s put out some of the best werewolf movies of all time. Like, and then there's this, which looks like I think it was a sock puppet. Like, I really do think that. Like, it like that is a weird looking. It kind of looks like the werewolf from the box, but not. Huh?
Are you there? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. You're gonna have to go back because I either one of us got lost. So why don't you start over that thought? Sorry, I apologize. I got cut off. So
okay. Tony, did you get cut off?
I did not. It was Jason.
Okay.
All right.
Then this part. Well, then just finish your thought, and I'll cut out this part where I'm talking. Sorry.
Yeah, that I'm 99% sure that werewolf was a sock puppet. Like it is one of the worst looking movie werewolves.
Are you talking about the scene where they fight so it's not very long before they start that they get attacked by a werewolf. There's basically two big bits of action in the middle. There's they shoot the video, they get attacked by a werewolf, and then local good old boys come around. But getting attacked by the werewolf, the weirdest darn thing is that the werewolf is like over there in the corner, and they have to keep running towards it to get attacked by it, which is the weirdest, strangest thing, and it's because they can't move this puppet they built, which is a shame, so they have to like keep it's awful, just truly, truly regrettable. If Alice Cooper comes on this show to talk about this thing, I will apologize for saying things like this about his movie, and I will also ask him.
I mean, I don't know how much he's gonna argue. He couldn't be arsed to come back and dub his own voice. So
that's true.
I think Alice Cooper probably has a sense of humor about this movie, just because Alice Cooper seems to be that kind of guy. And so yeah,
he knew that he said he wanted to do a bad film, like a movie that goes straight to. That's what he says. He said in the past,
cheap and sleazy.
So to that extent,
this movie is. I would say this movie is more cheap than sleazy. I mean, there's no nudity. Very sleazy. In it.
Again, it's pretty innocent, honestly. I mean, it's pretty like these crazy kids are about as chaste as like a bunch of teenagers in a 50s film. So that's for a Spanish movie of 1984. That's actually pretty surprising. They're also armed to the teeth. I think that's kind of funny that they've all come out to this castle, and everyone has brought a gun. And then the good old boys come around, and all of them have guns. And it's crazy. These guys are all really, really armed. One guy is so armed, he's carrying a .22 rifle and a bandolier of shotgun shells, which makes no sense to me at all.
They look like guys that have walked out of like, I guess, it is a Spanish movie, but they look like they've come out of like a Sergio Leone spaghetti western. It's like they took some spaghetti western bad guys and crossed them with some of the bikers from Dawn of the Dead. Like those two tropes could have a baby together. That's what the villains. And we spend more time. I think these cowboys have more screen time than the actual Monster Dog.
Oh, absolutely. The
Oh
Cowboys were
yeah, and they're
also
terrible too. Because they're
yeah.
not only are they just down to do whatever to anybody, but they're also like, oh, I hate gay people.
Right.
It's
So
just
random,
all this
crazy
stuff where you're like, what?
Yes.
Yeah, they're. Oh man. Oh.
Are those two guys supposed to be gay?
It's not clear to me.
No, they're well. It doesn't even matter to these guys. They're
right. That's
all
just
you
their
need.
go-to insult. But I have no idea. I mean, again, all these characters are so like the only person who appears to have a sexual life is Alice Cooper. Everybody else are sort of weirdly
I love
childlike.
how they light up until where everybody's kind of bedraggled and they've stayed up late. The way they light her the whole time looks like a cover for like a Japanese video game. Like you only need to make it watercolor.
You're talking about Sandra, Victoria Vera as Sandra.
The way they light her throughout up until, like I said, where everybody's kind of sweaty and they've been up all night and whatever.
Yeah.
It's strange that how they light her, but I pictured the way they do the focus and everything. There's kind of a certain style that I've seen.
Oh, absolutely.
Like kind of sort of a manga style, like a manga cover, and she's lit that way.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so crazy.
You've got really two girls we spend time with. There's Sandra, who's the one that's Alice Cooper's girlfriend, and there's Angela, the one who's having bad dreams about bad stuff happening to her. And she is definitely the one who she's the doomed one. She spends a lot of time running around like the mount since everything goes bad after they shoot the video. We haven't talked about the shooting the video sequence, but she's in her, spooky wedding gown outfit, and then she goes out running around the mountainside, and that's why Vincent Raven is also running around in his video outfit. But I just want to mention with those cowboys, the other weird ass thing is that they come around and they look super dangerous, and our young friends also seem to think these guys look super dangerous, and they're like, "Where's Alice Cooper?" And they're like, "Oh, he's not here." And they're like, "Well, is he coming back?" I don't know. Well, big dogs killing people around here. And they're like, "Yeah, you stay over there." And they go, "Why don't we come inside and wait for Alice Cooper?" And the young people are like, "Well, I guess that would be okay." It's the weirdest. Like, why? Like, it makes no sense at all. And of course, the moment they let those people inside, everything goes bad. And I get that it has to happen. The screenwriter doesn't know exactly how to get this gang into that house, but this is not how to do it. This is absolutely the least. Although I guess he was just like, "Hey, get this, Mr. Director. I came up with this really clever thing." They're just gonna say, "Can we come in?" And the kids are gonna say, "Eh." So that's what they do. Yes. Okay, shooting the video. What did you guys think about the shooting the video sequence?
That scene was pretty cool. Like I don't know how Tony felt about it, but like I feel like that's like the most this thing, like both of the videos are the most this actually feels like a real movie.
Yeah.
The rest of it is really telling that this was made by the same people that made Troll 2.
That's interesting. Yeah. Oh, hold that thought. But about the making of the video, I guess it's because if you can make a movie no matter how bad, then you can present how to make a video, I guess. So you show, they're doing all this stuff with like timing, and they've got all their equipment and stuff. I really enjoyed all of that. That was my favorite part of the whole thing. There's also this weird bit that I pointed out to Tony, which is that the needle drop while they're shooting this video is Edgar Allan Poe music from the prog rock Edgar Allan Poe concept album by Alan Parsons Project called Tales of Mystery and Imagination. They just randomly decided to use, they didn't even like mix it up. It's just like, it's literally a needle drop. It's like 2 whole songs back to back. It's like, we need 7 minutes of stuff to just play while they're doing their makeup and they're, filming and all that. So, so I recommend.
So random.
I know. I hope that scene is on YouTube. I haven't looked, but it would be really cool if it was, because it's also a good way to listen to the Alan Parsons Project song, The Raven. The Raven! That's why they chose it. Duh. God, that only now occurred to me that the character's name is Raven.
Wait. Really? Man, maybe Alucard would work on Jason. His name is Vincent Raven. Like, man, this Raven song's pretty good. I wonder.
That never dawned on me. Yeah, because you hear the guy yelling, "Nevermore, nevermore, nevermore." Yeah, so good stuff. Yes. I have to admit that after this point, after they have all the, like, for a while it becomes like a grody Spanish gang movie where they're just chasing around the
Well,
castle.
for a alleged werewolf movie, and maybe it's again because they spent all their money on procuring master thespian Alice Cooper.
Yes.
There's very little werewolf stuff
Yeah.
in
It's not
this.
called Monster Werewolf, Drew. It's called Monster Dog, and there's lots of dogs.
There is lots
Yes.
of dogs.
Duh.
Who once you actually see them in better lighting are actually quite cute and not
Oh,
terrifying
absolutely.
at all.
Especially the scruffy, like, black full-size terrier back there, who does not seem like a frightening. He's a good dog. He doesn't seem like a frightening puppy at all.
Well,
He's
that's because he's not being controlled by telepathy.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
I'm just still thinking about identity crises.
Crises.
So delightful. Oh my gosh. But yeah, they've got these spaghetti western dudes who come in and they trap the kids inside and then set out to terrify
Did you know
them.
you have to be invited in if you're a cowboy? They're the exact same as vampires.
Italian cowboys have to be invited in.
They wait though. They wait to attack them until they are invited in. They could have just like pulled the shotguns in their face and go, "Okay, we're coming in here because we're gonna kill Alice Cooper because he's
Yes.
a werewolf." And
Yeah.
it's like they have to abide by these rules, which I found very
Well,
very
I think look, it has its flaws, but I think the whole idea was, hey, we're looking around. We we just want to say, they basically don't want to blow their cover because I don't know. I mean, it doesn't make any much more sense, but I think that's what it is. Like, oh yeah, invite us in. Let's, we're just here as villagers.
Yes. Yeah, I guess.
But again, not that makes it much better, but I think that's the whole. In as much as anything else makes sense, I think that's the idea.
See, I mean, in theory, you could have been just a slight notch up from this and been more like a couple of other like noir films where gangsters and good guys wind up holed up in the same place because they have similar needs of some kind, like they're running away from a hurricane, or in this case, they're all waiting for somebody that the gangsters want to kill. And so maybe they're not interested in hurting the kids, and instead they're interested in just everybody shutting up until this guy gets back. Whatever. You could have all kinds of drama like that. None of that happens. Instead, the moment they get in, they're monsters. Yeah, and weirdly homophobic monsters. And so once they kill Angela when she wanders back, which is awful. And actually that's a good sequence because she walks in and they're like, blam, pretty much by accident. After that, it is war. Suddenly the next like 10 minutes of this movie is Alice Cooper at war with a bunch of Italian cowboys and their hippie friends.
He looks pretty cool mowing them down in his leather, like he's like a hair metal Terminator.
Yes,
for
he
like
is.
a brief moment.
Or like a million like 80s action heroes who in the final 20 minutes of a movie start killing lots and lots of people, like Cobra and whatever. Sure. You bet. I'll gladly take Alice Cooper as Cobra. So that's going on. And there's some neat, like there's a special effect where he shoots this one guy and his, he shoots the top of the guy's head off and he's replaced briefly with like a latex head. And it's kind of a neat effect. It doesn't look like a human, but it's still, it's of note.
That is one of the better. It makes me think if there had been a little bit more care that they could have had a better looking werewolf, because that is actually very decent gore.
Yeah. Well, all the stuff where the people's like arm has been gnawed and things like that, that's all pretty good. It's just the actual werewolf, the one that they face inside the house that they keep off screen basically because it doesn't look good enough to like aim the camera at for very long. But what did you think at the end when he starts turning into a wolf. And
Oh, when Alice Cooper starts turning into a wolf, I think it's pretty goofy, to be honest.
So clearly they're ripping off like all
They're
of the
they're trying to do like the stuff from like The Howling.
Yes.
The thing is about that is that if you don't have the money to do like Rob Bottin, kind of special effects, just don't try to do it. Like I would have been totally okay with like an old school kind of lap dissolve thing in this
Sure.
movie. I think that would have been a much better way to go, because like it just kind of looks like looks like somebody moving their hand around inside of a puppet. Like I don't. Sorry, Tony. What were you gonna say?
No, it looks cartoonish. Like
Yeah.
the way that the in between werewolf just doesn't look good. Like the way its facial features are and everything. It's like, oh no. I'm sure somebody put a decent amount of time in it, but oof.
I mean, because when they did this, the best that anybody could offer when the doctor from China Beach, oh God, who's the guy who turned into a werewolf first in The Howling? I feel bad.
The full on is Picard. What is his first name? Picardo. He was also in Star Trek for a while.
Yeah, right. No, he played the doctor on
Richard Picardo. Richard Picardo. It's an R name. I'm gonna be mad. I'll remember that. I'll remember this after we've hung up. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna find out. Hang on.
Well, as I said, if you can't do Rick Baker,
Robert Picardo, you had it exactly right. It's Robert Picardo.
There you go. Go me. Yeah, if you can't do that kind of effect, like I don't think you. When you're making a low budget when you're doing a low budget movie, I think it's important to know your limitations.
When Robert Picardo becomes a wolf in The Howling, they slow down the whole thing so that she can watch that transformation, and we just have we just go with the fiction that she would do that. Doesn't make any sense, but it's okay because they're showing off this special effect for us to enjoy. It's fine. It's like a transformation sequence in like Sailor Moon. The world's going to stop for this transformation sequence. It's fine. But you first of all, you can kind of only do that once. And second, it's never going to be as good as that one. So that's two reasons why they should not do this here. There's no reason to slow down here at all. In theory, he's going to become a wolf almost instantly. There's just no reason for all of this.
They're they do that in American Werewolf in London too, but they're doing that because they knew they had something.
Oh yeah,
whereas
a very different one. Boy, that was another really interesting.
Yeah, I think. So what I think they had in this movie is they had an idea for a design, which is prevalent on the box, and it's what they show on the painting, and it's hanging in this castle, which is this sort of like skinned werewolf look, which is very different and very gross. But they had an idea that they could not pull off, and no one with the humility to say, okay, we can't do this, we need to do something that we can actually accomplish. And because like imagine the way the rest of this movie is, it would have been fine to actually just do like an old school, it probably still wouldn't have looked as good as like a Jack Pierce makeup, but like a Jack Pierce style werewolf. And I think it would have fit the aesthetic of this movie just fine, because this movie has this sort of weird, it's like I said, it's like if somehow an episode of Scooby-Doo was ultra violent and half the Scooby gang ended up getting killed. But
yes, right.
Like there was nobody saying no, we don't have the capacity to pull this off.
No.
And I would have been completely down to see like Alice Cooper made up as a werewolf like properly. I think that would have been cool.
Sure.
Yeah. But I'm sure he probably would have been pretty game for that too. But I don't know.
I mean, I'll admit that by the time he's becoming, I was much more into him hunting down the gang. So when they finally remember, oh wait, this is a monster movie. I'm much more disappointed in the ending when, they're getting, there's only a couple of them left alive. They're getting away in the woods, and finally he's becoming a werewolf, which isn't a surprise to us anymore because they've been giving us all of these heads ups through the whole thing. So what's really strange about this is amazing to me. Two things. It's amazing to me that this movie kind of makes every conceivable mistake in how to construct a story. And second, it's amazing to me how watchable it still is. In other words, everything that we've said, I still very much I'm not trying to wrap this up. I'm just like, I totally enjoyed watching this terrible film.
I am glad that I watched this movie. I had to watch it in full heckle vision mode. Like I was razzing this movie the whole time watching it. I don't know that I would ever watch it again.
Right.
Like I can't quite sign off on exactly what you were saying. I enjoyed watching it. I'm glad I watched it. I don't know that I liked it enough for a repeat viewing. What was that, Tony?
I'm so surprised because I know you love werewolf movies and I know you love schlock and I know you're not a metalhead, but Alice Cooper's I
love Alice Cooper.
Right. Like, yeah. So I'm surprised, despite its schlockiness, that you weren't like, no, this is a comfort food kind of schlocky.
I like good I like werewolf movies and I like schlock. This never quite hit. It's not like it's bad. It's not quite bad enough.
Wow,
like
interesting.
Like that's the thing. I don't know exactly what the right level of bad is. And I like werewolf movies, but I definitely prefer a good werewolf movie to a schlocky werewolf movie. Although most werewolf movies are schlocky. Like the actual number of good werewolf movies probably can count them in like a pretty short list if I were to sit there and make it. And I think also some of it was like, again, going back to that childhood, like this was a movie that the box was so scary, that like the box art was so scary that I didn't rent the movie based off of the box art. And then so like when I actually watched this movie, I was like kind of surprised at how profoundly unscary this movie is.
That's so true.
Yeah, okay, maybe I'm not going to say that I would never watch this movie again. I won't go that far.
Yeah.
But I would not watch it by myself. This is a movie that I would recommend. Have a couple of people over, maybe get them lightly inebriated and watch it, because it's like it's a good heckle movie.
I think it's a great party movie. I think it's a fantastic movie to just have playing. I could see also just having this play in the background while I'm getting work done or something like that. This one, the reason why I say that is the variety to me is enough that it's super fun. The fact that it has montages and rock videos and a gang.
The rock videos are the best part of this movie. Like I would definitely if you could cut the rock. I would watch those rock videos. Yes. I would actually watch the Identity Crisis video right now.
Yeah, no, it's great. It is a better rock and roll horror movie in many ways than say like Black Roses or what was the other?
I don't know Black Roses. What is that?
Oh man, what was the other John Mickle?
That would have been Black Roses would have been a good chaser to this movie. Actually, it's a heavy metal horror movie. From the '80s. That also had an excellent VHS box, because like the box, when you would press it, it would glow. Yeah.
Wow.
Rock and Roll Nightmare was the other. This is a better rock and roll movie with Alice Cooper than Rock and Roll Nightmare.
That's fair.
Which is also fun and not a very good movie. But as far as movies go, this has the extra element of being kind of Euro trashy.
Yes.
And that's what's so great. It's lit a lot cooler.
Yeah.
The question I have to keep asking myself. So this is the thing. Would we still be talking about this movie 20, 30 years later if Alice Cooper was not in it?
Oh, probably not.
That's the tough question there. Sorry, to answer your earlier question, by the way, Jason, Black Roses is the music, heavy metal turns kids into monsters.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So there's like a triumvirate of this kind, which is Black Roses, Rock and Roll Nightmare, and Zombie Nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to melt your brain, watch those three together. You'll either really love rock and roll and metal, or you'll be like, I'm out. I've had enough of this. Which I still enjoy them, but I do remember renting Rock and Roll Nightmare and my friends and I going.
I haven't seen any of those movies in ages, but I do think that this would be a good I do think this would be a good double feature.
Well, it
with
says
Black
here
Roses.
it's also from 1986. Oh wait, Zombie Nightmare. It's a Canadian movie. Yeah. No,
we may have seen that at Weird Wednesdays actually.
I think that if it's the one I'm thinking of, where the guy comes back, he was a baseball player, and he comes back and he's gonna kill a bunch of gangbangers. And
no, he's a rock. The rock music does things.
Then I'm thinking of the wrong movie. So
it's all about metal and zombies and
this one I'm thinking of was also a Canadian hero zombie movie. That seems very strange.
You know
I'm
what?
Totally derail this again. Oh, go ahead, Drew. And afterwards, I'll derail it because I remembered the movie.
I just to say, like this conversation, in regards to your early comments, Tony. This conversation, I am probably being a little overcritical because, like you're right. I probably, in the right state of mind, would watch this movie again. Like I am just in a cynical state of mind because
I get you. I think I agree with you that we probably it wouldn't be a big deal, except for the awesome box cover, which has sold a lot of sold us on a lot of schlocky horror movies.
Right.
But I think the Euro trashness of it, the plot with the gang of villagers who have come back to kill off the werewolf yet again, and just
but they only bring one silver bullet.
Oh yeah, that was
just one.
Well,
that's true.
I mean, the villagers aren't very rich,
right?
But all of that stuff has cool, and the dubbing solidifies it as that kind of sleazy. Just what you see when you see a less than ideal budget European trashy movie.
I mean, I love that kind of thing.
And when I say trashy and sleazy, this is still in my wheelhouse. Like, that's not a knock. It just
can you
it's kind of just gritty, man, and I like that. But because of all of those elements, I put it in a different kind of mindset and a different frame than I would a lot of straight to video American horror, which sometimes was trying to do what this one does unintentionally, which is interesting.
What do you mean by that?
Like, they're trying to ape that kind of feel, but this director
you can't fake it. You cannot fake a grimy Spanish or Italian horror movie. No. You either are one or you aren't one. You can't. I can't imagine how you would do a fake.
Although, man, movie. That does remind me, we need to do is it In Fabric?
Yes.
Oh
yes.
Man. That's a director who gets what it is and knows where he's poking fun. By the way, my derailment was I finally remembered my post-apocalyptic movie, which is Exterminators of the Year 3000, which I'm pretty sure I saw on Shout Factory. But anyway, that's been bugging me this whole time. I know it's stupid, but
Jason, you know what your homework is?
What's that?
You're going to get Alice Cooper onto the show, and we are going to interview him about the making of this movie. That is your mission, should you choose to accept it. Because I would love to pick Alice Cooper's brain about this movie.
Yeah.
The question is, well, he's sober now, so he may or may not remember it. So
he was sober when he made this. He was fresh.
No, that's what I'm saying is. You could say, like, oh, would he remember it? He might remember it more because he was sober. Although he could have tried to forget about it since then. But, I mean, he's not. I mean, I know he's busy, but he's not on tour now. We know this. Yes, no one is.
We will reach out to Alice Cooper.
He might. I don't know. If he's bored enough.
Everybody's home right now.
Shoot your shot,
I'm talking
man.
to Joe Bob Briggs next week. I mean, everybody's at home.
Wait, what? What?
Yeah, no, we're doing.
You were interviewing Joe Bob Briggs.
I'm interviewing Joe Bob Briggs, for on Wednesday. Yes,
you're officially the coolest person I know.
That's very kind of you. So I don't know. I can ask him about Zombie Nightmare and see if he
remembers. He might ask him about Monster Dog. Why not? Ask him if he knows Alice Cooper's people, so we can.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just some roundabout, like everybody you interview from here on out is just kind of like, so do you know any of like Alice Cooper's people? You ever talk to Camp?
We want Alice Cooper. Oh,
Like,
if I were Alice Cooper and I listened to this show, I don't know if I would talk to us. To be perfectly honest.
no, I mean Alice Cooper's awesome.
Why
I think
on earth would you say that, Jason?
I guess that's true. I was just thinking about like because well,
Have
you
we
know,
said a single negative thing about Alice Cooper?
no.
there. I mean, you have musicians and music promoters and comic book. I mean, Alice Cooper's done comic books. So
Alice Cooper is I feel like would appreciate what we do.
Yeah.
And I think he would mail us all free top hats.
Man, that would, yeah. I mean, the dude's an institution. You really should, like I said, you really should see the documentary.
All right.
If you can
his story about meeting Zappa is just, I still talk to people about that because it's just so awesome.
I think if you can pull Joe Bob, you are like almost at punching class of Alice Cooper. I think you're there. I think you're there.
Let's see what we can pull off.
This is your homework, Jason. Don't let us down.
If not, school's out for you.
School's out for yes. Hey, let me ask you a
Welcome
question.
to your nightmare if you don't get Alice Cooper.
Oh, that's
on the
nice.
show.
You know, he also did it. One of the comic books was actually a horror anthology called Alice Cooper's Nightmares, if I recall.
Yeah, he's great. Also, here's another piece of trivia. Now that we're just talking, we just decided to talk about Alice Cooper because that's. I mean, if this isn't your bag for the Hangout episodes, you know, the X button's always in the upper corner of whatever.
I think anybody who tuned into this episode probably assumed we would be talking quite a bit about Alice Cooper.
But so there was some songs that Chris Cornell wrote for Ozzy.
Yeah.
And they were recorded as demos. And I found out that they became Alice Cooper songs, or some, not all of them, but a few of them.
Really?
And they tie into the comic book that he did.
Oh, interesting.
But
cool.
yeah, because I'd heard the demos for songs for Ozzy, and they were really cool songs. And then I was reading the lyrics and was like, wait a second, these Alice Cooper songs are actually. So Chris Cornell wrote these Alice Cooper songs.
That's cool.
Because Chris Cornell is a really amazing poetic guy. But originally some of those songs he had written them to send to Ozzy, and I guess Ozzy passed or somebody.
That happens all the time. I mean, you know, truly all the time. You'll hear a great song and then you go, well, yeah, originally Prince wanted it for this one band and then they didn't take it. And so whatever. Especially those guys who just can't stop writing songs. Who are just constantly just churning out. It's like, it's like, you know, like Tyler Perry on SNL, he's just got money coming out of his jacket. There are people where songs are like that for them. And they're just like, I just can't stop writing them. Here, you want one? It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. So the comic, by the way, was The Last Temptation. And let's see. Unholy War and I want to say Stolen Prayer was another one. But I had heard them on some, like a bootleg that I'd gotten back when, how was it? The CD, that awesome CD store we used to have where you just find random stuff by flipping
in Austin.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anton's maybe.
No. Oh man, disc something. I used to come out there with stacks. It was the most dangerous, and I didn't have much money, and so it was amazing. Used a CD store.
So let me ask a question. Hanging out. This is where, you know, it's a dorm room bull session where we're talking about a crazy ass movie. Who do you show a movie like this to? Like let's say you make a new friend, which at my age I don't make a lot of this, but let's say you make a new friend, you know, and you're like,
that's going to be difficult right now, Jason.
Right, exactly. But I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, you and I are definitely the kind of people who will watch a weird ass, semi-sleazy, skinned werewolf movie with Alice Cooper that doesn't make any sense, you know, and is not going to win any awards, and it
has telepathy in it.
Yes,
I love it every time. I don't care. Here's you're answering your own question. The same people
how do you
want
know?
To listen to us babble on about this crazy movie.
That's true.
Like
I
those
guess
are
that's
our
right.
friends. I mean, you find your tribe, right?
Yeah.
If somebody goes, I hate this podcast now because you just ramble about whatever, then
Right.
those are not the same people who are going to go. So that Hangout episode that I listened to, where you guys talked about Alice Cooper and post-apocalyptic movies and whatever else, that's the same people.
That's the
That Venn
people.
diagram is a circle.
Yeah.
The same
I
people who
don't.
want to tune into this are the same people where they would go, you go, hey, this movie with Alice Cooper. It's really cheap, kind of gritty, not great effects, but man, is it fun.
Yeah.
And you're going to get somebody who goes, ooh, that does not sound like what I want to do. And
Doesn't
then you
sound
get
like
somebody
quality
else who
time to
goes,
me. Yeah.
I am all in. Put that on, my friend.
I think
We're going to watch
you know,
this Alice Cooper movie.
Yeah.
You know, the spectrum of horror fans, you know, I think is a lot broader than I think people usually give it credit for. Like, because I think you have like your people who are like, I want to watch stuff like The Others or something like
Mhm.
that, which is it's you know, studio horror, and I have no problem with that. I like that stuff too.
Good stuff.
But
Yeah.
then you have your, you know, your layer below that, which is like lower budgeted, like Nightmare on Elm Street style horror movies that are still, you know, made through the Hollywood system, and that's fine too. Like, you know, and then you're gonna have people who are, you know, like they've already watched all that stuff, and I think that's where you get into the people who are like, okay, what's on Tubi or
Yeah.
Tubby or however the hell you say it.
I presume
You know,
it's Tubi.
whatever. Yeah. What have I think that the people who start seeking this kind of stuff out are the people that have watched a lot
Yeah.
of horror films. You know,
Yeah.
like if you were, and
Well, okay.
I
think you're going to
there's-
get two people. People who watch a lot of horror and are looking for just something like what's random. Or old schoolers like us who go, I just want to get back to the days of looking at a crazy VHS cover, picking it up, and then going for it. And then it takes me where it takes me.
Yeah.
So I think those are the two. I think there's two schools of thought there.
I truly find exploitation horror, old grimy exploitation horror, really fascinating, because even if the movie is not very good, and it's usually not very good, it teaches me so much about what people were thinking at that time, and I find that really fascinating.
Well, there's a certain amount of just kind of going for it that I find. That's what I like, is since even like especially like 70s 80s, we're still kind of finding out like how to make this stuff. There's not, when you see something now that's straight to video, straight to the back end of Netflix or Prime or a horror channel that you get is like an indie horror, and there's still good indie horror, but the difference is you're not getting people now, just by the nature of how things are created, who go, hey, I just have this idea for this horror thing. They're like, oh, well, I want to make this, I don't know, let's say I want to make this Grindhouse thing, or it's Nightmare on Elm Street meets this, and because you're influenced by what you've seen in the past, or what you like about, like you're more likely to get a horror fan who's intent on making. But I don't.
Is that good or is that bad? I'm trying to understand where.
Well, I don't know. That's up to you.
You know what?
It can be bad because there's a lot of it feels very masticated.
You're saying the cleverness can get you down, whereas
not even cleverness. It's not clever. This is just people making films that are, I'm just going to make this thing. Whereas I think now, because you've seen so many horror movies and you're a horror fan, you might fall into the trap of, it's got to be this, and it's got to be more horrific than this other thing, and
if
you're
I
kind
may,
of
though,
almost too informed.
Yeah.
If I may, though,
sure.
The flip side of that is Stephen King in Dance Macabre has something that he says about how hardcore horror fans are the best critics of horror movies, because he phrases it like you have to drink a lot of milk to really appreciate cream. And I think if you are the sort of person that can watch 3 or 4 movies like this that are not necessarily the highest quality, and you can take that, you are better prepared to actually give a honest review of, say, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5.
Sure.
Which is, you know, light years technically more credible than this. And I think there is something to that. Like, if you can be objective about this movie and go, yeah, the special effects, not very special. You know, but this, and this was entertaining about this movie. I think that there is a kind of artful criticism there. You know, and
well,
you know,
and likewise, it'll make you. It certainly makes you, and I think that boy, Dance Macabre, that's a great book. But it certainly makes you appreciate things like It Follows or really thoughtful, interesting horror films that are being made.
Right. And
It's
that's not really what I'm talking about. There's a
mhm.
there's a certain form, and again, I'm not even saying this is a knock because making a movie is really hard.
Yeah.
And people making stuff, that's awesome.
I think I know where you're going.
But there's a kind of sort of slick indie because it's easier to shoot. In some ways, it's easier to make give a film a certain look that ends up on a lot of free channels, horror channels. Like on my Roku, I have a couple. And there's a bunch that all seem to kind of blend together.
Yeah.
And again, I hope that I don't mean to offend, I understand how hard it is, but for me as a viewer, just taking all out of the equation, I kind of flip through a lot of that. And I think it's harder. But it's also like any music genre, right? Like eventually you'll listen to a genre enough where you go, I think I've heard a lot of this. Like, okay, that sounds like Sabbath. That sounds like this. That sounds like that. Whereas I think what we all gravitate, and this kind of roundabout goes back to your question, like who do you ask to talk about a movie like this or watch a movie like this? There's a certain gleeful, strange discovery in this era that you're just by the nature of the passage of time, you aren't going to find in a newer thing. And that's just the way it is. That's I don't necessarily mean it's good or bad, but that's where we live.
So many different things are coming up in what you're talking about, because there's this sort of really gleefully fun era that we're looking at with Monster Dog, and then there are the movies today.
I like though that we're so inured to this that we call a movie like Monster Dog gleeful.
Yes.
Whereas there's plenty of people like, that was not a fun ride. I never want to see that. I don't even want to get past the cover. That's amazing.
Well, there's sort of what I would call horror, meaning no disrespect, but horror snobs who are like, listen, life's too short. I'm only going to watch quality stuff like Babadook and the others. Okay, that's it for me. I'm only doing that stuff. And then there's people who are into these modern ripoffs you're talking about, which I don't really have time for because I have too many depths to plumb in the past. But, I would feel really bad if a close friend of mine were saying, oh, I'm making a new thing that's kind of a crazy straight-to-video homage to, I don't know, a random slasher movie like April Fool's Day. Then, I would have to respect that. I would completely respect that. So,
well, I mean, that's a two-way street because, like, you have something like the Michael Bay Friday the 13th, which is a passable Friday the 13th movie, but I think I would rather watch Hatchet, which is a low rent Friday the 13th homage.
In a heartbeat. Absolutely. Yeah. And that wasn't even all that bad, by the way. Like you said, it was pretty good. But I would still much rather watch a sincere minor film where people just want to make a movie, man. They just want to and get some ideas down and make their film. Maybe not even that artistically. Then somebody like Michael Bay who can do anything he wants in the world, and he chose to make a Friday, which is fine. I'm glad he did. It's a fine movie.
Hey, he chose to make a Friday the 13th movie because he knew it would make money.
Right.
That's Michael Bay's motivation for everything.
Whereas if you decide.
I have seen things that one of my pet peeves is I watched a movie that was a heavy metal horror movie, and friends of mine liked it. I liked it okay, but I couldn't get past the fact that I knew as I was watching, I was like, none of these people know heavy metal. And they don't really seem to know the 80s in the way that I know the 80s. And then I watched a Q&A, and sure enough, nobody involved. They were getting cues and dialogue cues and stuff from the crew who loved heavy metal, but none of the people writing it really. And it made the difference between, like, we were talking about last time about Metalocalypse is made by somebody who knows heavy metal in and out.
Yeah.
And you can get too in the weeds and it can be just a pedantic nightmare.
Yeah.
But the people who get it. And so I didn't have as good a time with the movie because a bunch of the stuff took me out of it.
You felt like it was pandering.
Yeah. And it didn't make And it was a decent movie. I'm not saying that it wasn't. I saw why all my friends liked it, but for me personally, what?
Which
one?
movie are you talking
about? Oh, it's a. I don't want. If I'm not it, I don't want to
fine. A heavy metal.
It was an indie  let me saw it at a festival.
Let me just point out that I'm Yeah, I agree. That kind of pandering I totally can't stand. Whereas a movie that pretends to know, like Monster Dog, where it pretends to know something about American culture and just botches it completely, hilarious to me.
No, I agree.
That's
But
all right.
but again, like,
Listen, I gotta go. Hey, hang on. I gotta go take some ribs out of the oven. I know that sounds crazy, but they've been cooking for 5 hours.
Are you holding out on us, Jason?
So, yes. So talk
I
amongst
guess
yourselves.
cut it here, and then...
I could cut it here, or you guys could keep talking. Who knows? I'll be right back. Okay. So I'm gonna mute my mic.
We might just leave it in, like, ribs.
Right.
Huh?
I'll be right back.
That does make it more Hangout-esque, I guess.
Yeah, I want ribs. He should have said, okay, I'm going to order ribs for everybody and have it sent to your apartment, and you can have ribs. We can all have ribs together, and it'll be this great bonding experience.
Hang out and ribs. How much
Monster Dog and ribs.
Monster ribs.
You know what, Tony? I think we should buy the rights to Monster Dog and remake it and see if we can get Alice Cooper to be in it again.
Ooh, that would be amazing. Like a remake with Alice Cooper. Well, but you get young people. Man, but I can't. Well, nobody can make movies right now. But I don't think you can make a good Monster Dog movie if you don't shoot it in Europe, though.
That's true. But with our imaginary movie studio, I think we can shoot in Europe when the pandemic is over.
Right. But I'm just saying,
we can make Monster Dog 2 and just have it be a sequel.
It would be a mistake, though, to not make that movie in Europe.
I am back. Yes. What are we talking about?
So we're gonna deciding... Yeah, go ahead.
We're gonna make a new Monster Dog movie. Once you get in contact with Alice Cooper, we're going to Tony and I are going to write, direct, and produce the new Monster Dog film.
But I was saying you can't make the Monster Dog movie unless you go to Europe.
Why do you say this?
Because the whole flavor of it.
Yeah,
and you have to redub everybody.
Fake America, need I say more?
So is this what Troll 2 is like? Is Troll 2 like this? Because I've never seen that movie.
Troll 2 is infinitely...
Man,
Troll
is it
2
also Italian?
You need to watch the documentary Best Worst Movie.
All right, I can't believe I've never seen that.
Troll 2 makes this movie seem competent.
Yes. Right. But what's crazy is I have friends who had to basically, at the screening that's in Best Worst Movie, I had friends who had to wrangle the director, and he was really mad, and he was really mad that people thought the movie was not serious. And they had to basically kind of coax him to come back and do the Q&A and do all this stuff because he was super incensed. But
really,
but I mean,
it's the director of this movie. He's the director.
Yeah,
of
the same director.
Wow. Yeah, he thought Troll 2 was really great. It's not so great. And even the people who are in it are like...
I'm looking it up.
It is relative. I will say it is relative. Because,
sure,
to me, the worst sin a movie can be is boring.
Mm-hmm.
For all this movie's flaws, it just breezes by.
That's right.
Oh, it clips. Yeah.
There is never a point where I was bored watching this.
No, I'm with you. Yeah.
And I'm not even as enamored of Eurotrash horror films as Jason is, because I find a lot of them to be kind of meandering. I didn't find this movie to be meandering like that. It's just boom, boom, boom.
I can't argue that.
Goblins or Troll 2 was shot in Utah, so I'm just finding that for reasons unexplained. Utah, yeah, for sure. It was shot in Porterville and Morgan, Utah. Who knows?
The dad is a dentist. Who applied. He's like, hey, I think his friends like, you should try out for this movie.
But you remember how The Blob, also actually an independent film, shot in that little town which I've forgotten what the name of the town was, but and The Blob, boy, what a good film. So I mean, you never can tell. But by the way, I just now
either remake or part 2 has to be shot in Europe and
Monster Dog went off, by the way, and so on Tubi I'm now playing a thing called Demon of Paradise, which is, I think, pretending to be the United States, but is shot in the Philippines, and it's basically a creature. And we got to watch this movie because people who are dynamite fishing unleash a sort of creature from the Black Lagoon guy.
I think I have seen that.
Well, I mean, dynamite fishing is a thing in the United States. I sadly I can attest to that. Um, um,
Yeah.
There was hula dancers, so maybe it's pretending to be Hawaii because everybody's got American flags all over the place. I think we've discovered another.
they just want to be living in the greatest country in the entire world, Jason.
Oh man,
The
I was
Dynamite-
thinking the other day.
the
If only Dynamite was,
disease-free,
if only it was
mighty
Dynamite
president.
fishing. Oh, sorry,
Oh.
Drew. I'm talking all over you.
No, it's okay. What were you gonna say?
Decorum is out the window on these episodes, evidently.
Yes.
Sorry.
Dynamite hula dancers who are dynamite fishing.
Yes.
I'm talking about combining those. Anyway, it was stupid.
That'll
Oh.
be in Monster Dog too.
Oh
Yes.
shit!
Monster Dog goes Hawaiian.
Yeah, it is supposed to be Hawaii because they have Hawaiian flags laying around.
This
Well,
sounds
definitely-
The more you describe this island thing,
Yeah.
it reminds me of the game my friends and I play where it's like I think we've talked about it, where it's sequels within sequels.
Yes.
So like Ghostbusters, what is it, 4? Ghostbusters 4, Ghost 2. So this sounds like Monster Dog 2, Weekend at Bernie's 3.
Yes.
Can it also be a backdoor sequel to that one episode of the Brady Bunch that Vincent Price was in?
Fantastic.
Sure. I don't know. I guess that would be Brady Bunch movie 3. So
Right.
Monster Dog 2, Weekend at Bernie's 3, Brady Bunch movie 2.
I like
There's tiki
That's the
torches
game
everywhere.
anyway.
All right. Well,
Oh,
we
while
definitely should
we've
wrap
gone
up
completely
because-
off the rails, by the way, I did remember that, Jason, the store was called Cheapo Disc.
Ah, yes. I'm so sorry. Yes, that's right.
Oh, that was.
By the
an
way, when I
amazing
pulled the
store.
ribs out of the oven, I did touch them with a fork, and the meat just fell apart.
Are they
Like,
pork
so-
ribs?
like a
or
mo-
beef-
like a
beef
like a
ribs?
Monster Dog transformation, you were saying,
Right.
They used pork ribs.
I cooked them at
as
$2.75 for 5 hours. So we'll.
I like this is also a recipe show now. Good lord, what has quarantine done to us? I think we're
Jason?
gonna lose so many listeners.
All right.
next hangout episode. You have to have ribs delivered to the both of us because now I want ribs. Thank you.
Is it Motel Hell where they're eating the people?
Yes.
Yes.
That was Rory Calhoun. Yeah.
It takes
So,
all
we should-
kinds of critters.
We should get our final thoughts.
Monster Dog 3, Motel Hell 2, ribs at Castle of Horror.
Ribs of Fury.
Ribs
Oh
of-
man, we could have a dry rub, a Castle of Horror dry rub. That would be pretty great.
Good lord. So many people this is it, man. I don't know if they're gonna make it to episode 300.
Yeah.
And bless you one and all if you've stuck it out for all of
Yeah.
They're gonna come back for Cat's Eye.
Cat's Eye.
They'll
Cat's Eye
come
is
back.
going to be really fantastic. Yes.
Yeah, we'll be very disciplined for Cat's Eye.
You can even put a disclaimer like at the beginning, Jason, as you're editing, like this is a
Undisciplined
hangout
episode. Yes.
Just man, it's fast and loose. Not
Yeah.
even that fast because we've been going on for long. It's
Fast.
just loose.
Fast like Alice Cooper's love life.
It's slow and loose, like ribs that have been cooked for
At
5 hours.
275. Oh, nice. Bring it back around. Very good, Jason.
Oh, ribs.
Anyway.
That we rocked.
I'm so excited that we got to watch this. This was really, really great. Okay, all right, guys. Is there anything that you want to endorse for the rest of the week, even though we're get together on Sunday?
I did just watch the Cursed Films documentary on Shudder, and that was excellent. And
Tell me about that. What is that?
It is a documentary about film. As it's called Cursed Films. It's available on Shudder.
Mm-hmm.
It is about. It's 3 parts. It's the first part is The Exorcist, the second part is Poltergeist, the third part is The Omen, and those are all movies that were supposedly cursed.
Huh.
They take both a skeptical and believer view, and they present
Yes.
both of them. And they also, I will say this, I think if you are a Poltergeist or Exorcist fan, you're probably not going to hear anything that you didn't already know, but it's presented really well. And like the arguments about whether or not curses are real and the various people they bring in for that stuff is interesting. They also, like in the part about Poltergeist, they have the director of Poltergeist 3 and they interview him at length. And that part is fascinating But the best one was the one about the Omen, because oh man, there was some crazy stuff surrounding that movie, some of which I didn't even know.
Really?
Well, okay, so the special effects artist that did the decapitation in that movie,
Yes.
after the movie wrapped, his girlfriend was in a car accident and was decapitated in an almost identical way. And she was next to a road sign that was going to a town called Omen, and it was 666 kilometers away.
That's fucking crazy town.
Yeah.
I'm calling that one. What the fuck?
Yeah. So
that's remarkable.
Yeah, and I didn't, I consider myself a bit of a horror buff, and I never even heard that story before.
No,
so
me either.
like
well, I will totally watch that. That sounds great.
It's a good little documentary, and it's only an hour and a half. So
that sounds wonderful. But there's like 3 episodes. It looks like there's it's divided up into. Yeah. So you mean the Omen one is really good, and there's actually 3 of them, so you can like.
All of them are good. The Omen one is the best one.
Okay.
Like it's all worth watching. You should watch the whole thing. And you should watch them in chronological order because of the way it's presented. But and I actually think Julia would really like it, particularly because of stuff we talked about back when we did the Poltergeist movies.
Yeah,
I think she would get some.
Okay, that's a really great idea. I like that. Okay.
But do not watch it individually. Watch it in one go, because it appears to me like this was intended to be watched as a film, and then they broke it up. That is actually my only criticism of it, is that they broke it up into episodes to make it more like The Toys That Made Us, which is a really good documentary series.
How long is each episode?
They're only about 30 minutes each.
Oh, okay. Well, I could watch them all tomorrow. That sounds fabulous.
Yeah, it's an hour and a half. We all have that right now.
Awesome. That's fabulous.
We're not making ribs.
Yes.
I also endorse making ribs.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. The by the way, Grady Hendrix, who Tony you were tweeting at today, he was doing the funniest thing where he was just watching Shudder and just live tweeting through Exorcist 3, which was hilarious.
Oh man, I should have watched that. Grady is amazing, by the way. I've met him like 3 times. Hey, let's talk about stuff. I've seen him around at different events. He's amazing. Awesome writer, cool guy, super knowledgeable about I met him through martial arts films before I even knew he was going to do all this horror stuff.
Really?
Yeah, last time I saw him, I think I may have seen him one time after that, but he was live subtitling a Hong Kong movie, if I remember correctly. It may have been a mainland China movie. Anyway, the movie didn't have subtitles, and we had bought it was a martial arts marathon, action marathon. My brother and I had bought the balcony seats at the Drafthouse, and Grady needed a place to watch the movie and be out of the way subtitling, and so
that is really cool.
But no, dude is super awesome, really funny, really good writer. I was actually gonna, one of my things was his new book, Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, which I haven't read, but I know Grady and I know his quality, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be really good.
I haven't read it yet. I've got a screener. So, the equivalent
advanced copy.
So,
yeah.
So I'm gonna read it. But
you're interviewing him, right?
Yeah.
Which I didn't know when I was like tweeting, "Hey, this is cool." But yeah, he's great. He's one of the people I've met who I'm like, man, that guy has it going on. He's a really, really cool person.
That's really cool
and hilarious.
Any endorsements?
And Jason, you'll love this. Alamo Drafthouse is doing Terror Tuesdays and Weird Wednesdays as virtual theaters. So you can now subscribe. You can now buy a virtual ticket, and watch it at home for both Terror Tuesday and Weird Wednesday.
Wow, I don't even remember what Terror Tuesday was, because they hadn't invented that when I left.
I think they did it sometimes, but now it's on the regular. But yeah, if you go to the site, you look up Drafthouse, Laird is now doing Weird Wednesday, but he's curating that. But yeah, if you want, you can buy virtual tickets and watch. And they're doing a bunch of other virtual tickets.
That's cool.
They're also doing meal kits, but they're only down south right now. But yeah, you personally, like between us, as far as we probably would have watched. I'm surprised we never saw Monster Dog at Weird Wednesday. It seems like the kind
you
of
would
thing.
think.
This does seem like a Weird Wednesday kind of movie or a Terror Tuesday kind of movie.
It's frankly,
well, now it would be Terror Tuesday, definitely. But at the time,
a little too good, to be perfectly honest with you. This is, at least it has Alice Cooper, because
but it's got that flavor. But anyway, you can totally buy virtual tickets, and in the comfort of your home, because that's where we have to be. Yeah. You can now watch Weird Wednesday and Terror Tuesday. So I think that's, in the crazy place that we live, at least there are some comforts like that.
That's really wonderful. My only endorsement is obviously I've just surfing around Tubi, I've just discovered a Filipino fake Hawaiian monster movie called Demon in Paradise. So what's not to love? So that's I don't know if that endorsement is Demon in Paradise or just flipping around Tubi, but yes, I will hold off for the rest of for the rest of the week. But anyway, I'm really thankful that you guys would get on and spend some time talking about this movie and this was like, the movie was funny, and talking about it was a blessing during this kind of, I don't have to say too much, but we all know how tough things are right now. And if I may get real for a second, like I when I woke up today, I was not in a good headspace, because I had my nightmares can get really bad to the point that I'm medicated to kind of subdue them. And I had one of those kind of nightmares. So being able to get on here and goof off with y'all, and kind of relieve some of that tension, it really is a blessing. So thank you for suggesting this movie, and thank you for talking to that, and also thank you for putting the idea of making ribs in my head. Well, thank you both.
I kind of want ribs now, though. I made tonkatsu pork today. That was a dinner.
Are you going to the grocery store? And that sounds awesome, but are you? Who's doing the grocery shopping?
We did HEB curbside. This is all scintillating, by the way.
Yes.
We did curbside, and then there is a Sprouts close to us, which is expensive, but seems to not be out of everything. And so we are privileged in the fact that we can do that. I know a lot of people aren't as lucky. So but we're doing okay. But yeah, man, it's crazy town out there. I hope that people are in it to these episodes and just weird random stuff as well, just because let's all hang out. And
before we hang up, I should actually talk out that John Souter, one of the artists who works on my comic, actually he did tell me the other day that he thought we were killing it with our recent episodes. So
that's nice.
There you go.
Nice.
One endorsement I definitely have is I can't wait until a couple of weeks from now when we're going to have our crossover with the Monster Movie Happy Hour.
I did tell them. Yeah, I told them
awesome.
A couple of cocktails, even though I don't drink, ideas. Because even though I don't really drink, I have a couple of liqueurs and a couple of ideas, and was like, I don't know where you'll use these, but this is things I like. So, but they're great about that. So I'm super stoked as well.
We're going to do Cat's Eye, Body Snatchers 78, something I don't remember, and then The Thing for number 300. So that's cool. We'll just keep rocking towards it. I do not remember what's gone in there into that. Do you remember? Does anybody remember what number 299 is?
I don't know, but people always ask
that.
Yes,
we were still debating that.
Right.
I think we should keep something, because Body Snatchers is apocalyptic. The Thing is apocalyptic. I think we should do something else that's apocalyptic, because we are living in apocalyptic times. So
I guess, but
that's
such a bummer,
I can find something fun and crazy. Don't get me. Yeah, we'll find.
Well, the Hangout episodes are becoming sort of fun and crazy. So, but I don't know. We'll take it offline and we'll figure it out.
Time of the Apes.
What of the Apes?
Time of the Apes.
Planet of the
Apes. I'm not talking about good stuff like Planet of the Apes. I'm talking about the Japanese
right.
Time of the Apes.
I know it well. Yeah. It's actually not a bad idea.
I don't know. But anyway, for people who are asking, like, what are your next few movies? Because we get asked that a decent amount.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with the Mystery Science Theater, like, Don't Sweat It. Also, a little peek behind the curtains. It's not as well planned as you might think. So when you ask that question, we're kind of put on the spot because we may change our minds throughout. Like, I mean, we know up to 300. Well, obviously, we're saying that we don't know one of them.
But we're missing one.
Right.
It's like a puzzle piece that we're missing one piece of.
But
Yes.
But in general, that's the secret. It's not nearly as tight as you might think.
Yeah.
Unless we're doing a retrospective, then we kind of know.
Well, and we're going to kick into a retrospective afterwards. I just don't remember which one it is. I think it's going to be something we've called.
See?
Yes. So
I like what we've been. I don't know how, if the social distancing ends. I don't know if we'll keep doing these weekday episodes or not. But I do like the fact that we've done some sort of like very weird, random stuff. So like if we are. If this really does go into May, I like what we've been doing here.
So that would give us slightly better quality stuff for the main line, which isn't a bad idea. I actually like that idea. So
well, it's also cool because people can choose your own adventure. If this isn't your bag and you're like, I am sick of hearing them just talk about shit, then just the Hangout episodes maybe not for you.
What about Peter Cushing and Hound of the Baskervilles for number 299? I can't believe we're debating this actually on the show.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's take this to the email.
Okay. All right. To the email, everybody. I will talk to you guys later. Have a fantastic week. Listeners, please be kind to one another and do all the things that the CDC tells you to and stay safe so that we can all get out of this. Thank you guys. You're wonderful. I appreciate you being there. Bye.
Awesome. Good night.
Bye.